On today's Daily Hustle, I want to talk about a core key principle. This is one of those core principles that every once in a while I'll hit you with, okay? This core principle is you don't need permission to be who you want to be. You get to decide who you want to be. Now, to give you a quick summary of what I want to talk about, there's this movie that's pretty enjoyable. It's called Catch Me If You Can with Leo DiCaprio. Now, that movie's based on a real-life story of a gentleman named Mr. Abignal who basically conned his way into all kinds of situations. He conned his way into being an airline pilot. He conned his way into receiving all kinds of checks that he had basically kind of created out of thin air. He conned his way into all kinds of things, primarily because his dad always looked positively on, getting one over on the man and that kind of thing. So Frank Abignal thought that was a good thing to do. We need to get one over on people, and we need to con people. That was the way he grew up, and that was his kind of structure of understanding how things should be. Well, it's an entertaining movie because of how amazing the things that he gets away with are. But it also points to a key principle, and one that I want to switch around because we don't want to use this strategy for negative or for lying or stealing or cheating. But we can use this strategy for something good, and that is you decide to give yourself permission to be whatever you want to be. Okay? We often think that we need permission from a school, like here's my degree that says I am an engineer. Or here's my degree that says I am a master at whatever, right? We feel like that piece of paper is what gives us permission to be that person. Sometimes we feel like, if the people around me don't believe I could be a pilot, for example, then I'm not a pilot. Or if my loved ones, my wife, my husband, doesn't think I have what it takes to have my own business, then I'm not a business person. We need to stop letting others define who we are. And we need to get clear that you not only can define who you are, but you can decide who you are. And here's what I mean. When I was 19 years old, my mom took me to a real estate seminar. And I got excited about investing in real estate. Because my mom had always told me that I could be whatever I wanted to be in life, and hopefully you've heard that same thing from your parents. But because she told me I could be whatever I wanted to be in life, I decided that day I want to be a real estate investor. Now, I was 19 years old, and at the time, I looked like I was about 16 years old. Okay, I looked like a kid, but in my mind, I was going to be a real estate investor. And I made that decision. That's the key point. Make the decision, step one, right? Step two, I decided I look really, really young. I'm not going to look like a real estate investor to the average person who's in their 30s, 40s, 50s, or 60s. So what can I do to appear older, or in this case, wiser about real estate? So my game plan was simple. I needed to immerse myself in the world of real estate investing. I needed to know the answer to any question that might be asked of me about real estate investing. I needed to be the boy genius, so to speak, of real estate. I needed to know everything there was to know about real estate. I needed to be able to converse with real estate agents and have them go, wow, that kid is sharp. Man, I wanted to be where I knew more about real estate than most real estate agents did. And you know what? I got there. Going to 3 years of seminars constantly and buying packages about real estate. Back then they were on cassette and workbooks, right? And absorbing everything I could about real estate, I got more knowledgeable than most real estate agents and some real estate brokers. And what that did is it gave me tremendous confidence so that when I made an offer on a property, whether it was to a for sale by owner or to a realtor, when I negotiated, when I talked the real estate lingo, they knew I knew what I was talking about. I became a real estate investor. Now let's review those 3 steps. First, I decided that I was going to be a real estate investor. I wasn't waiting for some degree, some piece of paper. I wasn't going to some certification program. I didn't get my real estate license, because all the real estate seminars said you don't need a real estate license. In fact, it kind of goes against you if you have a real estate license. I just decided. And in the same way, you can decide too. You can decide what you want to be. Okay? Then, step 2, I laid out a game plan to be that person. What does that mean? It means I laid out a game plan to grow into being a real estate investor. So I thought, what does a real estate investor do? Well, they buy property as an investment, either for short-term flips or for long-term holds, and they really know a lot about real estate. So I went to town learning a lot about real estate. What that did for me, that step 2, was it gave me a huge amount of confidence to be able to do real estate. So once I had been doing this for 3 years, I had been learning and studying and absorbing everything I could about real estate, learning about escape clauses, learning about everything that you could learn about. I was very confident that I could start making offers on property. Now remember, I started out as a very shy, introverted person, so it took me about 3 years, all right? So the average person, or the average older person, maybe more grown up, more wise in years, or you've had a few real estate transactions under your belt, it might take 6 months, right? For me, it took a long time because I had to develop people skills on top of real estate knowledge. So that was number 2. And number 3, I became that person. How did I become that person? By starting to write offers on properties, by going out and hunting properties according to what I had learned, by going out and finding sellers who were anxious to sell their home quickly, and by finding a partner, because I didn't have the money, right? I was a youngster. Finding a partner that could partner with me on an equity position on these properties. That same strategy is what you can use, that same 3-step format. First, though, you've got to decide, and you've got to give yourself permission to decide. Don't think that outside forces dictate who you are or who you become. You dictate who you become. You dictate who you're going to be. You decide what it's going to look like. Step 1. Step 2, take action to get there, right? In my case, I had to learn a lot, and it may be in your case that you've got to learn a lot to be that person and to fit into that mold of that person and what it takes to be that person, right? And then step 3, become it. Start taking action to be that person. Start actually doing what that person does. What does an investor do? They write a lot of offers. Some of those offers get accepted. They find somebody that can partner with them to buy that property to make money with, right? That's what an investor does. I'm boiling it down, right? But that's the idea. Very simple 3-step process to decide. But the key is you decide. Don't let anybody else decide for you, and don't let anybody else dictate to you who you are going to become. If your goal is to be a home-based business owner, decide it today. And then start finding the resources to learn what it takes to be a home-based business owner. And then step 3, be that home-based business owner. Hope you enjoyed today's Daily Hustle. I'll see you tomorrow.